everyone, this is Mindy for Lawnfawn, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can hot foil on acetate to create a beautiful window card. Now the first thing I want to point out is that you will need a heat resistant acetate, and the Lawnfawn acetate is perfect for this. I want to show you the supplies that I'll be using today, starting with this nighttime sky stencil. I also have this snow flurries stencil background, but I didn't end up using it. I have the hillside stencil, merry messages for my sentiment, joy to the woods for the birch trees and ornaments, winter skies for that little group of bears, and then the stitched hillside die. I'm taking the birch trees and also that little group of bears and my ornaments, and I line them up on my MISTI tool and inking them up with the Lawnfawn jet black ink and stamping them down on 80-pound white cardstock. For coloring my images today, I'm still using an alcohol marker, but I just recently got some of these tri-blend markers from Spectrum Noir. I don't think I've ever used this brand of marker before, and the tri-blend are a little different than a regular alcohol marker in the fact that there are 3 colors in this one marker. So I just need to pick which one I'm using. There's a dark, medium, and light, just as I would my Copic markers. But the 3 colors are just all on one marker. So for one, it limited the amount of markers on my desk. It was super easy, no thought process involved except for which shade I wanted to use. I didn't have to sit and worry about, 3 different marker shades that would match. So I've been really enjoying playing with these, and I still colored my image the same as I would if I were using my Copics, picking a area for the shadow and then blending out with the other 3 colors. So the bears I did in a dark brown, and then their muzzle I did with kind of a light or tan color. And then I moved on to the scarf, and I knew my background was going to be blue for a nighttime sky. So I used a blue marker to color in the scarf. Now I hadn't played with this marker before, so this color combination was a little tricky for me in the fact that the lightest color is really, really light. So when I go to do the middle color where my highlight's going to be, it was a little tricky to blend. So I went and I did tip-to-tip coloring just like I would with my Copics. And just like any other alcohol marker I've used, once the color kind of seeps into the cardstock and you let it sit for a minute or two, it really blends together nicely and looks natural. Sometimes when we're really close to our projects, things don't always look the greatest, but when you just let it sit for a minute, walk away, even take a step back, they look a lot better. The birch trees here that I'm using from Joy to the Woods, I just took a really light, it's like a warm brown or a warm gray, kind of a grayish brown, and I just added a shadow area to one side of the trees and then went along those stamped lines and just added flicks of color. Now I did stamp those trees twice, which is what you see here, and I just added a shadow area to the opposite side because I'm going to have birch trees on each side of my card. For the ornaments, I picked out colors that would really stand out against the card. So I have a red, a green, and I think that top one's going to be a pink. Now, sometimes, for instance, that green color combination blended together almost too good. So I went back with the darkest color, and just added a line of color to one side. I'm still adding a shadow area to everything, and I just picked one side of the ornament. And what's funny is when I was placing my ornaments on my card, I really didn't even pay attention to what side the shadow was on. But it still helps kind of give the images more dimension instead of just a flat look. I'm going to finish off with this minty green here on that larger ornament. I did put a little bit of a gray for the tops of the ornaments, and then this one is more of a dusty pink. So once everything is colored in, I'm going to line up the coordinating dies, hold them all down with some low tack tape, and run these through the die cut machine. Now I'm going to bring in my nighttime sky stencil, and I am starting with the circle there in the center for my moon. I'm holding this down over 80-pound white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm holding the stencil down with my magnets, and then I masked off all the other areas of the stencil, and I went around that with some tumbled glass, just really on the very outer edges, kind of keeping that center pretty light. I'll then shift my stencil over, and I'm going to use some of these additional elements to go with the moon. Once again, masked off the areas so I don't get that on my cardstock, and just going over that with that tumbled glass once again. I cleaned off the stencil, and then I'm bringing this back over so I can line up that open circle area. I folded up some Post-it tape and put it over the top of the moon mask, and then tried to line that up so I get perfect placement. I swear I never get it right. I always end up leaving a halo, but I'm trying. You just keep trying till we get it right. So I have my mask in place over my moon, and then I also brought in the hillside stencil and placed that down so I have an area for my ground. I don't want my sky to go all the way down there. And then I'm bringing in that tumbled glass once again, blending in from the edges and also the hill. And I came close to the moon. I didn't go all the way to it. Next, I came in with blueprint sketch, once again going around those outer edges. I don't want to come in as far. I really want it to have a halo around the moon. Now I'm going to come in with villainous purple, really dark purple. These are all in the Distress Oxide inks, blending that in. Now I'm going to speed this up quite a bit here in a second because I really do go back and forth between my colors. Now, one thing that I like to do towards the end here is I literally go in a circular motion around the moon at this point. So I'm following the mask of the moon to help give it that glowing halo effect. And I do go back and forth between that tumbled glass and blueprint sketch. So now when I remove my mask, I have this beautiful glowing background, and I have the bottom portion with that hillside look. Now I can just carefully remove the mask. I was pretty sure my Post-it tape wouldn't ruin anything, but I'm still pulling it very gently. Then I'm going to bring that hillside back in after I cleaned it, and I'm using that to mask off the top portion so I can add a light hue of color right underneath. And since I still have some blueprint sketch mixed in with that tumbled glass, it gives it almost like a periwinkle. It's really pretty. Now I'm going to cut a hill using my stitched hillside die and add a little bit of that light blue to the very top and also the very bottom. I need to stamp my Santa silhouette in here, so I placed my panel inside my MISTI, and I'm inking up that Santa silhouette from the Winter Skies stamp set using VersaFine ink, because whenever I'm stamping on top of oxides, I like to use the VersaFine ink. Just be careful because it does stay wet for a little while. Now I also brought in my stitched hillside, and I'm stamping this sentiment in VersaFine ink as well, and this sentiment came off of Merry Messages. I love how it completely fills the bottom portion of my hill, so I don't have a ton of white space left there. I started to adhere my card together, starting with these birch trees, and I'm just going to add them on each side of the card front using some liquid glue. But as I was doing this, I had a thought that I wanted to try something out and I've never done before. And one of the things I really wanted to try was foiling on acetate, because I kind of wanted to have snow on the card, but yet I didn't want it to take over and almost get too messy looking. So I cut a piece of the lawnfawn acetate, and this is a 4¼ by 11, and I'm going to score it at 5½. Then I'm going to fold it and really reinforce that fold with my bone folder. After I've really reinforced that fold, I'm going to open it back up because I'm going to foil on just one side of this fold. Now in the meantime here, I do have my hot foil system warming up off on the side, and then I'm going to take some of the prism, I think it's called prism foil, and I'm trimming it to about the size of my card front. I'm going to foil this just like I would any other piece of cardstock. So I place this over that front panel that's on one side of the fold, and I'm making sure that the pretty side faces up. I have my Snow Flurries hot foil plate facing down, and I'm holding that together with a low tack tape and then running this through with my hot foil system and die cut machine. Now I'm going to carefully remove that tape, and I'm going to carefully peel up that hot foil plate because it is pretty warm, and I'll peel back my foil. And I was so happy with the results. This foiled perfectly, and this prism foil was absolutely perfect for snow flurries. So I'm really sorry it's hard to capture this on screen. I tried to put a piece of white cardstock there for you to see it, but it is so gorgeous. I took my original panel and I trimmed off any excess pieces that were hanging on the side. And now here is a great trick. I'm using the lawnfawn double-sided adhesive sheets. I trimmed it down to be just a little bit smaller than my panel, removed the backing on one side, and added that to the back of my ink blended panel. I'll just push this down really hard to make sure it's adhered really good, and then I'm going to take the backing off of the other side and carefully place this in the inside of my card. So you can see there I have my card folded. I have it so it's kind of going up flush against that fold. Just be sure you're ready when you have that in there, because when this stuff sticks down, it sticks down. It's not going to go anywhere. So once I had that where I wanted it, I just pushed down really well. I can trim off any excess that might be hanging off the side. And now I can finish the inside of my card. So I glued down my stitched hillside here with the sentiment. And then I'm also gluing down my bears. Now this inside panel could very easily be just the front of your card. You could just use this card that you created with the ink blended background and have that be the front. And then you could add foam squares and things to like the ornaments or the bears. I had kind of stopped where I was in the gluing down process earlier because I had that idea to try this foiling kind of window front type of look. And I'm really happy it turned out. But if it didn't, I knew that this could always be just the card front itself and it would still look really good. Now I'm just going to come in and add a little bit of detail to everything. Normally I like to add some sparkle or crystal glaze to things, but being that this is the inside, I don't want it to get glued shut. So I'm just using a white gel pen to add highlights to my ornaments. I added little dots to the scarf to make it look like a polka dot scarf, and then some highlights to my bears. Now, if you're wondering where you would sign your name, you can either put that on the back of the card or you can use a smaller sentiment and sign the inside right where the sentiment would be. So now here's a closer look at that finished project. I absolutely love these foiled snowflakes over the front. So it didn't hurt the background at all. I didn't kind of overpower my bears and everything with white dots, which I love adding flicks of white paint to my card fronts, but I loved the simplicity of the design and I have really been dying to use that moon in a Santa silhouette background. I hope you enjoyed today's video and it has inspired you to create and try hot foiling on heat resistant acetate. Thanks for joining.